After the completion of highly responsive to prayers, Zung and the team of people he was working with at the time under the name of Amusement Makers decided to make a bullet hell space shooter, but instead of actually going with, well, spaceships, they went with little girls. And instead of going with space, they decided to go with a fictional land called Gensokyo. This title, A Story of Eastern Wonderland, would end up becoming the predominant style for the rest of the series. Let's take a look at the earliest shooter and see how it holds up. The story basically comes down to weird crap is going on in Gensokyo. So Reimu hops on her flying turtle to go put things right while killing all the yokai in her way. Or, well, that's how she'd like it, but there's a incanning, convoluted reason why no one dies. You see, all the yokai and humans have a universal agreement never to use lethal force, instead solving conflicts in a Danmaku contest, or bullshit. That's basically the plot to every Touhou game, by the way, really. It's kinda stupid, but if you're really going into an independently produced shooter on an arcade computer system looking for a well-written, fleshed-out story, you should question life. I just love the fact that Reimu has a flying turtle just chilling at her shrine, and then learns how to fly in later games and leaves it home. Yes, the Miku just learns how to fly one day, Dragon Ball style. Gensokyo is an awfully silly place, isn't it? The basic gameplay is as follows, and it's the same for the vast majority of the series. The arrow keys move your character, the Z key shoots, the X key uses a spell card, which acts like a bomb in most shooters, making you invincible for a few seconds, wiping out a projectile, and of course heavily damaging all enemies. You can choose how many lives and bombs you get in the options menu along with the difficulty, ranging from easy to lunatic, with harder difficulty adding more projectiles to avoid. When killing enemies, they may drop a power-up which you can collect. The blue symbol is just points, and if you collect enough you get a much needed extra life. The red P increases the power and spread of your shot. The green B adds a single spell card. And the purple 1-up, well, I think you can figure that one out. You start off pretty damn weak, like in most shooters. But even though she is a one-hit kill, Reimu went to the Piccolo School of Training. Dodge! And her, along with any playable character in the series, is the only character to actively evade attacks. You also have a very small hitbox in the center of your character, so you can be grazed by attacks and not take a hit, a feat later titles will actually reward. If you do die, you pick up right where you left off with decreased power, but your bombs restocked. The basic enemies are little ghosts that Reimu blasts into oblivion, but there are other strange creatures trying to off her too. At the end of each stage, there's a boss, most times an underage girl, waiting to fill the screen with bullets of varying shapes and sizes. Of these, only 2 would go on to be seen again. Marissa, a witch that would become Reimu's main rival and the perpetual second playable character, and Mima, the final boss that would later be playable in Mystic Square. The graphics and sound are pretty basic, not surprising considering the platform, and the character designs have a charming amateurish feel to them. The sound is a little more memorable than Prayers, but hardly remarkable. The difficulty is fair, but not a cakewalk either. There's little else to say here, honestly. So, what do Amusement Makers do after making the first recognizable Touhou game? They decide to do something completely different. A competitive shooter called Phantasmagoria of Dim.Dream. Let's see what Zung and his team has for us this time. Here's the setup. Pick from a selection of characters from both previous Touhou games and a couple of newcomers, and just survive longer than your opponent. Each character has different speed, attack power, and charging speed, which we'll go over in a bit, making everyone feel relatively unique. Controls are the same as in Story of Eastern Wonderland, with the exception that holding the Z key will charge your shot, like a Mega Man game. You have a bar that represents your charge power that will slowly increase as you kill enemies. The higher the charge, the more powerful your shot is, and the higher the chance of attacking your opponent. If you can fill it up all the way, you can unleash a boss form of yourself to attack the opponent with, which is one of the best ways of making them become very, very deceased. After unleashing the Kraken though, your charge bar resets. Unlike pretty much every other title in the franchise, you actually have a life bar, so you can withstand a few hits before going down, making matches a little longer and slightly more fair than you would imagine. This is one of the few multiplayer efforts in the series, and it certainly is more fun against a friend than going up against the CPU, which jumps from stupid easy at easy difficulty to rape you against a wall with no loop hard at even the normal setting. The graphics are a little more lively than Eastern Wonderland, mainly thanks to large, cute, and colorful enemies, but there's little variation. The same holds true for the music. Still, it's not a bad game, it's just not one that you'll likely keep coming back to. So that about wraps up these two games. Join us next time as we continue our retrospective with the final of the PC 98 games.